is marriage good for? Who's it serving more, men or women?
Now, men.
Because I was thinking, if we pressed a button and the marriage stats went backwards in time, i.e., more people got married and they gave birth within marriages, would that be better for men or women?
Better for men.
Why?
Because being with the kids and kind of with the mom is just right now still an incredibly important way for men to feel needed, connected, involved, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that might change, but right now it is pretty clear that they'll do better. And like, if you look at the impact of being married and not married on employment, earnings, health, physical and mental health, life expectancy, huge positive impacts for men, much less so for women. And of course, if you go back, if we went the other way, like you'd say, well, actually women who weren't married were in real trouble economically until recently, right? Women used to be economically dependent on men, but men were emotionally dependent on women. And I think we've really done a lot on the first half of that. And it's kind of revealing the second part, the kind of the fact that actually wifeless men, partnerless men, childless men, they don't do so well. In fact, they do terribly.
I love hearing the things that I say get validated to this extent. Like, he just succinctly summarized exactly what I talk about all the time, about how marriages benefit men and how they really don't benefit women. And I am blown away at the amount of men that are going around here lying and acting like they don't want to be married, and the men and acting like it, and the men who are actually afraid of being married, looking at you black men. Like, I don't understand it. Now, y'all know I have retired from the field of telling men to marry and marry and marry, because I'm not a big proponent of marriage, but I'm definitely, I'm trying to help men, right? Like, I really am. And I know that marriages benefit men overwhelmingly. Not just that my marriage benefits me. I know statistically, categorically, it benefits men, right? So I'm constantly trying to get men to, do the right thing. And also I want them to protect their families. I want them to protect the children. I want the women to be protected, right? If something happens to them, like that's what I'm, speaking to a lot of times with the men when I speak about getting married. I'm talking about this holistic approach to marriage, as opposed to men looking at it through this like very narrow lens of like, well, she could divorce me and take some of my stuff. I'm like, that should be the least of your worries. If you take care of business, you don't got to worry about her taking half of your stuff. And she ain't going to take half of your stuff anyway. More than likely, neither one of you guys are going to go to court, because neither one of you guys can afford a lawyer. You can't afford a divorce lawyer majority of the time. You know what I'm saying? So this whole idea that like women, that like men don't benefit from marriage, or women benefit from marriage, is crazy. It really is. It's also crazy to me how many women still desire to be married. That also shows me the power of propaganda. That also shows me the power of propaganda, because you cannot explain to me why so many women are beholden to this idea that they need to be married. You cannot explain it to me. Like, I completely understand if men want to be married, completely. I don't understand why women want to be married in general. I'm not saying every woman. Some women and some men are good for each other. Some couples function very well. Some, very few, but some, right? Those people, I understand why both of them will want to be married. I also get why women will want to be married for the protection and yada. I get that too. I understand that too. But I'm talking about women who don't have a man. I'm talking about women who are in abusive relationships with men and they know they're being abused and so on and so forth. And they still desire to be married to that man or to a man in general. And I'm just kind of like, why? Like, I'm saying, I understand if you have a man and that man has proven to be worthy, and now you want to marry that man. Now I got you. I get that. We're here with that, right? You don't have a man, but you're like, oh, I can't wait to be. I'm like in 2024? You need to check the numbers, my dear. It is what the men's is wilding. The men's is wilding. Marriage is like, oh my God, it's so bad for women. I don't know how I don't know. Marriages are like Hyundais in 1990. They're like 1990 Hyundais. Like they're the Hyundai Excel of life. Like they just like, I don't understand how people were buying them. They're Pintos. They're like just the worst of the worst. They're Studebakers. Like I'm like, well, how are you guys still buying these? This is crazy. All the history is like buying a 1990 Hyundai right now. It's like buying a 1990 early Ford Escort. You know what I'm saying? Like in 2024. No. Doesn't make any sense. Look at the track record on that car. I don't care if it's still running right now. It won't be for long. It won't be for much longer. You know what I mean? And similar to these terrible vehicles, it's not about the one vehicle running well. It's about when you look at all the vehicles that were made, what is the likelihood that what percentage of them will not work beyond 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, right? And the percentage is really, really high. Like you don't see 20-year-old Fords on the road, right? Besides the trucks, you don't see 20-year-old Ford vehicles on the road. Like cars? No. They keep Ford Broncos alive because the cars are cool, but they don't run like tanks. They're shitty cars too. You don't keep those. You don't see those cars on the road because they're shitty cars, right? That's the same thing with marriages. It's like when you talk about marriage from a holistic standpoint, it's like what percentage of marriages actually are good? What percentage of marriages actually are healthy and benefit both the men and the women? Very few. You're talking single digits probably. You're probably talking single digits. Low tens, if any, 11%, 12% type shit at best. The vast majority of marriages do not benefit women and overwhelmingly benefit men. There's no negative to getting married for a man. You can't name one. You can't name it. You can't name it. If you guys talk about divorce, that's different. Divorces hurt both parties, men and women. Women more, but men and women, right? Long term, I think they hurt women more. I think men lose a little more upfront, or not upfront, but on the back end with the divorce. But overall, the women have lost more throughout the duration of the marriage because more than likely that woman took a back seat, or she made her career take a back seat to her family, which puts them behind the eight ball economically. So I would understand why a man would have to come out of pocket. But even when a man is coming out of pocket in a divorce, he's only paying pennies on the dollar. It's not like he's paying, like, it's not like she's ever made whole again, right? Like she's getting 15% back, 20% back of what she lost during the marriage. So men still ain't losing in that regard. You know what I'm saying? The women are still losing more than the men from that aspect. But it's just very interesting to see how our society, how it drives men to be one way and drives women to be a completely different way against women's best, best interests, right? I mean, in all honesty, it's against women's best interest to deal with men at all, just generally speaking. Like, just fuck marriage. It is against a woman's best interest to get in an elevator with a man. It is against a woman's best interest to get in an Uber with a man. It is against a woman's best interest to go on a date with a man, let alone a marriage with a man, right? And the fact that women are still very compelled to do so, a part of it is nature. I do believe that, of course, nature. But a big part of it is nurture. A big part of it is societal conditioning, brainwashing, propaganda, social ostracization, right? People being ostracized for not having romantic partners. People being turned into pariahs because they're not married by a certain age. I just did a video yesterday where the young lady from, I think it's Teen Mom, like whatever. She's not a teen mom now, but she was talking to her boyfriend, and she was like, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing because people are like asking me a lot about where's your husband? You know what I mean? And we're not married. Basically, like, why aren't we married? Like, people are pressured to be married. Women are pressured to be married. Men are pressured to be married. But I think women feel more they feel the brunt of that. They get the brunt of that judgment. Like, where's your ring? You know, whatever. So yeah, I know, and I've been saying for a long time that marriages favor men overwhelmingly. And I'm just tired of men lying about that. Like, it just doesn't make any sense at this point. The jig is up, man. We know.